Hello, and welcome back to From the Goat Up. I'm Karen Minsky, and today we're talking about the power of saying yes and showing up. Welcome to From the Goat Up, where we talk about ambition, motherhood, business, and what it really takes to earn your seat at the table. A journey through motherhood and career growth. Today we're joined by Sam Priar, marketing manager here at Dionis, who is a mom and a professional navigating it all. So I'm so excited to talk to you. We've known each other for 4 years. That's how long you've worked for the company. So tell me a little bit about your journey growing up and your career aspirations, and then what led you to motherhood.
Basically, growing up, my mom was a hairdresser, and I've always had a little bit of a creative side to me. When I was in high school, I turned 15 and my parents were like, go get a job. So I got my first job working in retail. I worked all throughout high school. I loved it. I loved being in fashion. I loved fashion magazines. I think that was my way of expressing my creativity. I didn't want to be a hairdresser like my mom. I knew the hours were super long. She was a single mom, so I saw what that did to our family, and I just didn't want that. So I had an internship in high school. Every day I would leave at 2 o'clock. I would work until 5. Then I'd go right to my retail job. I'd work 5 to 8 o'clock at night, come home, do my homework. I was hustling in high school.
Sounds like it.
I really
Sounds
was.
like it.
Especially my senior year. But my internship really showed me how to work, and I really built that work ethic that helped me get into college. I went to school for fashion merchandising. I loved it. It was really fun. I had a little bit of a business background, but then also kind of a concentration in fashion. My brother at the time, I was living in Philly, he got me an internship in the city, and I was working for a boutique, being a buyer and just kind of understanding the ins and outs of retail in that space. And again, every job I took really I was learning skill to build upon every job. So I was living in the city, just kind of getting through my early 20s, just working odd end jobs. And again, I was kind of finding myself at such a fork in the road of what I wanted to do. I was in, real estate. I was working for California Closets, designing things. I met my boyfriend, who ended up becoming my husband at the time. I moved out to the suburbs, and I was really trying to figure my life out. I got a job working retail at Restoration Hardware and designing
Love
things.
that store.
Love it. It was so much fun, but it was, every job I learned a skill to take me to the next job. So I had a lot of bosses tell me, you're not going to do well in this career. Yeah, and it was always
Not to be gender or whatever, were they male?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked at California Closets, and let me tell you, it was 100% commission. I had to bust my butt every single day for, to pay the bills, and that teaches you so much. And I was like, I have got to walk into this house and I have got to sell. And if I don't sell, I'm not going to make rent. I'm not going to make my bills. So, and every day I would go into meetings with him once a month. We would have our touch bases, and he'd be like, this is how you messed up. This is what you're doing wrong. You're never going to succeed. You're never going to do well. And I was like, okay. I was like, I think I need to find a new job. So I told him, I was like, I'm leaving. I'm going to go work at Restoration Hardware and be an interior designer. And he goes, you are going to be terrible at that. And he was like, this is not good for you. He was like, you can't even design closets. How are you going to design an entire space? And I was like, okay. I said, I'm going to figure it out. And I was like, I can't listen to you.
That's crazy.
And he was like, I'm really hard on you because I see potential in you, and I just need to be hard on you. And I said, okay. So I left and I went to Restoration Hardware. Within a month, I was top sales. I was doing so phenomenally at my job because I had positive reinforcement around me. I had a team that believed in me. They were like, you can do this. It was just the environment changed so much of my outcome.
Where did you find the strength? Because that was so crazy.
I don't know. I think it was just the will to I wanted so much better for myself, and I was like, I want things in life, and I don't like where my life is right now, and I want, better things. And I'm like, I just got to figure this out. I've just got to keep going.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I went to Restoration Hardware. I was there for 2 years. I loved it. I thrived there. And it was literally the people around me that just built me up. And while I was there, I got engaged, I was pregnant, I was getting married all at the same time, and I knew that working there as, being pregnant, I couldn't be in the retail setting and like having a baby that just like wasn't conducive. So I had an opportunity to work remotely, and they said, if you can build up this skill, and it was a computer skill, they were like, if you can learn this, we'll give you the job. And I said, okay. So when I was at Restoration Hardware, on my breaks, I would take the computer and I would say, I'm going to teach myself this program. And I would YouTube it, and I would just sit there. And because nobody wanted to train me, because they were like, we can't train you. Like, unfortunately, like, we just can't do that. I said, if I can just have this, and they were like, okay, you can have it and you can teach yourself. So within 6 months, I taught myself the program, and I wasn't great at it, but I always get the job that I'm not like super qualified for, and then I learn as I go. I'm like, I'm gonna fake it till I make it.
But you're like a fast learner. I mean, just us
try to
working
be
together.
Yeah.
I feel like you're a fast learner, but you're also like a hustler.
I've always been a hustler, and I've always been like kind of a fake it till you make it. And I think you kind of have to be, and it's like you've got to, if I can just get in the door, and if you can just give me that opportunity, I promise you, like, I'm gonna like.
So where do you get that confidence?
I think just seeing my parents and like seeing my mom. Like I said, my mom was a single mom. She raised 2 kids on like no money. She owned 2 hair salons, and she was like keeping us all afloat, and she was like keeping the day-to-day going, and she did it with such grace, and she did it like she never complained. And as a kid, I would complain. I'd be like, you're never here for me, like you're never at practice, you're never at any of my games, you never show up for me. And and I would I would give her such a hard time, and she'd be like, and she never said anything to me.
Really?
Never said anything, and I was just like, now looking back on it that I'm a mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, you look at that strength, but then you also look at like, oh my gosh, as a kid, you want to try and do better, and you want to try and be a better mom. So I took the opportunity. I worked at home. I had a baby, and then I get the job, and then a month later, COVID happens. I'm pregnant at home, working at home. It's just me and my husband, and we're just like trying to figure it out, going to like doctor's appointments alone, working alone. The world just doesn't know what to do, right? We're all dealing with all the same things at the same time. I have my daughter the summer of 2020. I'm just, at home. We're just figuring it out. It was tough. I went back to work. I had her on June 1st. I went back to work 14 days later.
Wow.
Because I did not have maternity leave, because I had started 3 months before that.
Wow.
I started in March, and then the world shut down in March. So I started, and I had no maternity leave. So I have her, and I'm at home, and I was planning on going back 1 week later, and I was really, really physically in a lot of pain. And I like remember sending my boss an email saying like, I'm just in a lot of pain right now. I don't think I can even sit to like work. I need another week. So that was 2 weeks I had off. I went back to work on my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Not that this is not to be like braggy or saying like, look at me, look at me.
No, it's aspirational. It's not braggy at all.
But it was like, that's just like, that was the mindset I've always had. It's just like, maybe it's like a people pleasing thing, or maybe it's just like, I want them to rely on me. I want them to know that like they can count on me. And just because I'm a mom doesn't mean that I can't show up. It doesn't mean that I don't want to work. It doesn't mean I can't give it my all.
Do you feel like there's a stigma when you're a mom and then you're a working mom?
100%. Yeah. And so this was my first corporate job. Okay. And I'm now working at home. I have a baby. My husband's working at home. We're trying to figure this out. And I didn't know. I didn't know office etiquette because I wasn't in an office, but I also didn't know corporate life. Okay. So
Wait, did you have a baby in your lap during a meeting?
I didn't know.
No, right.
She was sleeping, and that's how she slept. I couldn't get her to sleep anywhere else. She was months old. I didn't know what to do. And I will never forget, this one guy was like, do you have a baby in your lap? And I said, yeah.
Right, like what were you supposed to
Let's
say?
keep going. What else do we have to talk about? Like, I'm working. I'm giving you my all. She's good. We can keep going. You know, I didn't know. And, you know, to them and like looking back, I'm just like, okay, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, but that's what I knew to do in the moment.
No,
I didn't
that's
know.
Awesome.
So I worked from home for 2 years and I had a wonderful, wonderful boss. During COVID, I was in the design program there. And because I worked for an office furniture company, nobody was going back to the office. So I had to like totally change. Did a whole reorg and they were like, we need you in marketing. I was like, marketing? That's not me. I'm creative. Like, I'm a designer. This is what I do. So I was like, okay, like, I don't want to lose my job. Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I jumped into marketing and I had a wonderful boss. She was remote. She lived in a different time zone. And she taught me everything. And she was so supportive. And she was like, whatever you need, like, we're here, we're as a team. And it was so like a community. Like, there was only 8 of us and it was like all hands on deck. We went through a rebranding. We went through company org. We went through another rebranding. Like, we did so much. And it was like late nights, early mornings, traveling. Like, I just did it all. I would go to Chicago at 8 a.m.
So what happens to the baby during that time?
So she's at home. She's growing, obviously. And at like 8, like, we were just juggling. Like, she knew. Like, my boss knew. She was like, I get it. And she was like very supportive of me. But like, it got to the point where I was like, okay, she's moving too much. I can't just like let her sleep for like 4 hours. Like, I've got to like figure it out. So we had a nanny come. This was obviously during COVID. So we had her come a few days. And then at 10 months, like, I kind of got the push at work of like, okay, she's got to go to daycare.
Right.
We've got to like figure this out. I was traveling twice a week to Chicago.
Wow.
And I would do day trips. So I would take the 6 a.m. flight and I'd come home. I'd literally be away from 6 a.m. to like 8 o'clock at night because I didn't want to miss bedtime. I didn't want to miss that moment. So I was like, I just got to do what I got to do. I would do that twice a week for like a few months. And it definitely played a toll on me. I mean, she was little and I was like, okay.
So wait, so I have to kind of go back to something that you said, because growing up, you kind of had an issue, not an issue with your mom, but you kind of were like, it's definitely like a vivid memory for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not there for me.
Yeah. Like,
but then you
I know.
ended up on that same path. Did you recognize that at that time?
Yes. Yeah.
And how did you get through those feelings?
I think it was kind of that hustler mindset of like, I just have to do this and like, she's not going to remember. But also at the same time, I had such guilt, which is why I would take that 6 o'clock flight home to make sure I was like home for dinner time, or I'd be home for breakfast in the morning, because I knew that, oh, listen, I could have easily stayed in a hotel and like spent 3 days away and got extra sleep and just relaxed, you know. But I didn't want to be away from her. So I was like, I have to show up where I can show up.
Yeah.
And I have to make the time where I can.
So did you have like a thought in your mind of like, this is the kind of mom that I want to be? And then did that ended up happening for you? Or maybe you didn't, but it was still okay or not okay?
So I always wanted to be a mom. And I remember at my engagement party, because I didn't have a baby shower because it was COVID. At my engagement party, one of the questions that you like talk about is like, oh, like, how many kids do you want? And I was like, I always want 2 kids. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And throughout my whole pregnancy, I was like, I can't wait. I'm going to be like PTO mom. I'm going to do car drop off. I can't wait to make all the snacks for the kids. I can't wait to just volunteer. I want to be a soccer mom. That's all I wanted to be. Because again, I wanted to be everything that like I didn't see growing up.
Yeah. So what happened? I mean, how did you...
I think I had a baby, and here comes the guilt of like, I wanted an adult conversation every day. I wanted to like, just because I had a baby, I didn't want to lose my identity. And I think that because so much of my life was working, that is who my identity was. And I felt like being at home for 2 years during the pandemic and raising a baby at home, like I was starting to lose myself.
I'm so like aspirational that you actually had that thought by yourself, because when I had my kids, I remember my mom saying to me, just because you had kids, it doesn't mean that you don't have you anymore. Like, don't forget who you are. Mm-hmm. Get up, get dressed, do your hair, do your makeup, whatever the thing is that I wanted to do for myself. She's like, you had a baby. Like, move on with your life. Like, it's fine. And that stuck with me. And I think it's so interesting that you did that for yourself, right? Like, my mom really did that for me, because I was a mess in the beginning. So I give you so much credit for like doing all of that on your own.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But you also, like, I think it was something in my life is kind of have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired to like
Yeah.
make a change. Well,
Yeah.
I was kind of sick and tired of like waking up every day and like I wasn't getting dressed, I wasn't doing my hair, I wasn't doing my makeup. That was a part of me before I had a baby, and I was like, okay,
You're kind of losing yourself.
I was losing myself, and I was like, this isn't who I am.
So here's my question to you. So now fast forward, you've obviously made the decision 4 years ago to come back to the office.
Yeah.
Your daughter is how old at that point?
She was 2.
Okay, so she was 2, so you still needed like a childcare situation.
Yep.
And now, so where did that shift happen, and how did that work for you? Like,
So she was in daycare at 10 months and stayed in there, until she went to elementary school. So at 2, when I went back to the office, we were in a great routine. She was doing, drop-offs, pickups. It was great. I definitely had to have a conversation with my husband of like, okay, like our roles are changing. Like, what does that look like for you? What does that look like for me? What does my day-to-day look like? He was working from home full time, so he had a little bit more flexibility. And, everybody's circumstances are so different, but it did work out for us. And I know you and I have talked about like your roles with like your husband of like, you work a lot and he has a little bit more of a flexible
partnership.
Yeah, it is a partnership, 100%. I'll never forget actually listening to another podcast of a couple going through their pregnancy and their journey of raising children. Is like, it's really, you can't keep score. And because you can't be like, okay, well, this is what you're going to do, so then I'm going to do this. There are some days where like, hey, like, on your team, like your team might have like a broken leg. Someone might have a broken leg where everyone else needs to really step up. So sometimes like this might just be like a moment in our life where like he needs to step up a little bit for me. And then maybe in like 5 years, I might have to do the same for him. So it can't always be like a keeping score thing. So we always tried to have that mindset with our daughter and like work and balancing things.
Do you ever feel that guilt with your daughter at all?
Yes, every day. Yeah. I think as a mom, as a working mom, I think you feel the guilt on both ends. And you feel the guilt when you're at work that you're not giving enough at work because maybe you're thinking about your daughter, or like when you're at home or your children, when you're at home, you're thinking about, oh my gosh, my deadline that's due tomorrow, or I have to travel, or I have to do something. There's always a guilt, I think, one way or the other.
And sometimes your worlds collide, right? Like the other day we had a snowstorm. You had to work remotely, but your daughter's school was out. What do you do? Because it's hard to tell a young child, hey, can't come in here right now. I'm in the meeting, or I'm working on this project. They don't care. They need you.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate those responsibilities and those feelings?
I used to feel, in the beginning, I used to feel bad if like I was on a meeting and like Palmer would pop in or something. And I kind of just realized that, like, listen, it happened when I was on a meeting with you one time and she just like popped up from behind the sofa.
Yeah.
And I do feel like I talk about my daughter enough at work that like she's become part of it a little bit. So when I do have a meeting and with some of my coworkers and they see her, it's almost exciting. They're like, hey, like I know her and she knows them. And so, again, that's not for everybody's case, but I do think it's like a little understanding, we're all humans at the end of the day. Like, I'm trying my best. I think everybody knows that we're all trying our best here. And so, you have to be a human at the end of the day and like understand. And I feel like I've worked with amazing humans to be able to like give me that respect and just understand like, okay, Sam might just need to cut this meeting 5 minutes short to go feed her daughter strawberries.
But you're also, this is just me working with you. You're a really hard worker. So when you need that space or that time, it's not like, oh, here she goes, not working again. It's not like that, because you work so hard all the time that you're like, yeah, totally fine. Like, I'm good. Like, I know you got it, because you're a very responsible person. But that's part of your work ethic also, I feel.
Yeah, and I think I trust myself too, that like, I know that I'm going to get the work done, and I know that I'm going to give it, I try to give it my all in both settings as a mom and as a employee. So I just, my worlds collide, and I think it's so cute. Palmer when I come home from work, Palmer's always like, did you see the goats today? Like the goats are part of, like, that's mom.
Right.
She sees the products around our house and she sees the goat icon and she's like, that's mom. She sees it at school because I give the products as like gifts to the teachers. Yeah. So she's like, my mom works for goats. And like, so my world has collided with her, and she has collided with my world. And I love that because I get a little piece of Palmer at work when my coworkers ask about her.
Yeah.
I get a little piece of work at home because she understands that, like, oh, we're in the bath, we're using mom's product, there's a goat, or like she's asking for a video. So it doesn't feel like she's disassociated or like disconnected with my job, and she knows that I do important things. She sees my projects, like working on like whatever like PR box I'm coming home with or something, you know, if it's like a little lovey or if it's like a baby bottle, she's like, what is this? What's going on? So I'm explaining that world to her, and I'm showing her like, this is what a meeting is, and this is like how you type on the computer. And so
you're creating a mini you.
I am. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing.
It's a great thing.
But you know, this is the world that we live in now. These kids are like all around technology, and like they're becoming so much smarter than we were at that age. Yeah. So I'm trying to like bring both of my worlds together.
So have you thought about, with your career portion of it, right? So you're a marketing manager here at Dionis, and you have a really important job, right? We don't have like a million people here, so every role is really important. And then you're of course going to continue to develop and grow in your role. Have you thought about like how are you going to navigate that in the future, or are you kind of excited for the journey?
A little bit of both. There's like a part of me where I'm like, I want that title. I want that the corner office, you know, that like, especially as a woman, like where I've come from and what like all the skills that I've taught myself to like get to the next job and get to like the next promotion and like really like advance myself. I see the trajectory and I see where I've come in the past 5-10 years, and I could see the next 5-10 years in that way. And then there's another part of me where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I just like stay status quo and then just, you know, like this is working, and, you know, do I give a little bit more to like my daughter at some point, you know? I battle that in my head every day, and so I'm kind of just like going with it right now. I feel like I'm doing a good job balancing both of it, and I'm you know, until, you know, maybe until something slips up or until I get to a crossroads again, I'm kind of enjoying it right now.
So your biggest, I'm going to kind of shift a little bit, but one of your big things is that we all know about you, that you are a yes person.
Yes.
If you are someone that, you know, if anybody needs anything, that's the one thing that's great about you, right? If I know if someone needs help, I'm like, just ask Sam, she'll help you. Even for myself, I'm like, oh, let me call Sam, like you're my right arm. So I love that. Nice. But at the same time, that could be really, really hard for someone who's juggling so much.
Yeah.
How do you struggle or deal with that on a daily basis?
I had that mindset a few years ago of just saying yes, whether it's like to my daughter wanting to do tennis, whether it's to traveling at work, whether it's to having a girls' trip or dinner on a Thursday night. I think I have to find balance in all of it. I don't ever want to say no. I still, you know, I think it's understanding your identity and like never losing that. I love my friends, and I have friends who aren't married. I have friends who don't have kids, and I don't want them to think that they can't rely on me. And I think that's what it comes down to at the bottom of, you know, the bottom line is that I want to be reliable to everybody. So I want to say yes. I want my daughter to rely on me, that I can give her the life that she wants and she can do the things that she can do. I want my job to know that they can count on me. I can be there at a trade show. I can travel. I can do whatever they need. And then I also want my friends to be like, she can still be the friend that I knew before she was a mom. So that's why I say yes.
You know that I don't actually see yes from you as a negative, because if you think about your story and everything that you just said today, you said yes to yourself your entire life. That's how you got here. If you didn't do that, you wouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a great attribute, and you should be really proud of the yes.
Yeah.
I wish more people would do that for themselves, just because I think the growth and the path would just be, you know, a little bit different. All right, so we're going to do a segment, Spill the Milk.
Okay.
We're going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
All right, so tell me a beauty product that you swear by.
Oh my gosh, my Dyson.
Your hair.
My hair. I use like one of those hair wraps. I love it because you know what? It cuts down the time.
You don't need two things. You only have
one. It's one thing.
I do travel with that.
It literally is so quick. It gets me out the door so easily.
Okay. Your superpower as a working mom?
Integrating both of my lives as like a working mom and as an employee, and like basically integrating them together.
That is a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you refuse to overcomplicate?
Routines, morning routines and nighttime routines. So every morning I do the same exact thing. Every night, my daughter with like bedtime, bath time, all of that is all the same. It's always the same. So my life can be so hectic, and traveling with like work and just our routines, that is the one thing that's like so consistent, is that I always do bedtime with her. So it's something that she can always rely on me for.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
All right. And then a myth about motherhood that you want to debunk.
Oh my gosh, making mistakes. I think this is such a big topic to talk about because I make mistakes at work. I make mistakes at home, being a mom, being a wife, and it's okay. And sometimes I feel the guilt that like she shouldn't see that, but I also want her to know that like it's okay to make a mistake. I've made mistakes in front of her, and it's like, oh my gosh, uh-oh, mommy did this.
Yeah.
But also, like, that's how you build resilience. And I just need to know that I need her to know that I'm a human and we all make mistakes.
So for a mom who's sitting at home
Mhm.
and she is like, oh, Sam's doing it, everybody's doing it, and I'm really having a hard time doing it, what's your advice?
Just say yes. No, I think you have to, kind of like what I said earlier, you kind of have to get to like the point of like, okay, like the fork in the road. Like, you know, maybe you're stuck and you're like, I don't know where to go. Do I go left or do I go right? Or like, what decision do I make? Or I'm sick of the same day over and over. Like, make a change. Like, start looking, you know, for something that like inspires you or like makes you happy. Like, you know, what's your why in the morning? You know, like my why is my daughter. My why is, you know, helping her like live her best life.
Yeah.
And so I think just finding that for yourself.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time with me today.
Thank you
I
for
really enjoyed
having
talking to
me.
you.
I know, me too.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed our powerful conversation with Sam and really navigating motherhood, professionalism, and just self-growth. I hope that you really enjoyed, and please, you know, follow and listen along for future episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for tuning in to From the Goat Up. Please tune in to our biweekly episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, save, and share at Dionis Skincare.